1920s and 1930s. According to the official website of Lou Gehrig, sponsored by Rip Van Winkle's Foundation, last updated on July of 2014, he was the son of German immigrants and the only child of four to survive. Lou spent most of his career shadowing Babe Ruth, but when asked about it, he only responded, "It's a pretty big shadow." His nickname was the Iron Horse, given to him for his strength and endurance. These traits, alongside his consistency, led to his record of 2,130 consistent games. His streak ended whenever he was diagnosed with ALS, a fatal neurological disease referred to now as Lou Gehrig's disease. He was a mama's boy, a husband, and an American hero. Gehrig was a victim of an era of Great Depression, but he maintained a positive attitude. On July 4th, 1939, his purpose was not to depress, but to inspire, to exhibit how precious life is as he bid his farewell. Lou passed away just 2 years later, in June of 1941. The New York Yankees honored him in between a doubleheader in front of 60,000 fans. They called it the National Lou Gehrig Appreciation Day. Lou shared the field with the 1927 and 1939 Yankees as he received his gifts and tributes. When it came time for him to speak, he didn't move. The Smithsonian Channel states in episode 3 of their Major League Legends series that fans were told that he asked not to speak. They began to chant, "We want Lou," demanding that he speak. Eventually, Yankees manager Joe McCarthy put his arm around him and whispered something in his ear. To this day, it's unknown what was said, but it made Gehrig keep going. But it caused Gehrig to slowly move to the mic. He opened by addressing the fans directly and confronting his disease as just a bad break. He then said, "Today I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth." Next stating that he only had experienced kindness and encouragement from fans over his 17-year career. This was an emotional opening as he struggled to start. He opened by immediately showing positive nature, calling a fatal disease just a bad break. His positivity continued as he suggested that fans are only kind. We all know that any fans of an opposing team can be not kind sometimes. As Joe Girardi quoted at the Lou Gehrig Sports Award dinner, Lou always saw the good in people. He continued by saying, "Look at these grand men," then suggested their acquaintance was the highlight of his career and a rhetorical question. He starts back, "Sure, I'm lucky," and considered knowing Jacob Ruppert an honor. He goes on by praising Ed Burrow and Miller Huggins before calling Joe McCarthy the best manager in baseball. "Sure, I'm lucky," he says again before expressing his experience of receiving gifts from his rivals, the New York Giants. Through this section, Gehrig expresses great gratitude by repeating that he's so lucky and honoring his peers. He describes them as wonderful and outstanding leaders, showing grateful to have known them through his career. It says much about his character when he's moved by the gifts of the small people, the groundskeepers, and the rivals that he doesn't even like. I guess he likes it, but continues with, when you have a wonderful mother-in-law, and then mentions a time that she took his side over her own daughter. He says, that's something. He repeats when you have as he refers to his parents as a blessing and expresses great gratitude for their hard work to give him an education. Garrett then calls his wife a tower of strength and more courageous than he'd ever dreamed. In this portion of the speech, Garrett addresses his fans and seems very thankful. By repeating when you have and that's something, he builds emotion and puts emphasis on how grateful he is. Garrett is able to relate to his audience with humility by presenting himself as one of them. In Garrett's final sentence, he shows courage and hope by saying that I might have been given a bad break, but I've got an awful lot to live for. Over time, only 4 sentences have been maintained from the original footage. But that is all it takes to see that Lou has unwavering courage and great selflessness. I believe that Garrett wrote this speech but never intended to give it. He was humble and didn't want to receive any pity, and that's why he hesitated to begin. After Chan Spannett and his manager gave him some words, he realized that he had something great at hand. He had something that he could give to a depressed era, something that they desperately needed. I believe that Lou gave this speech without preparation and intended to inspire by demonstrating the blessing of gratitude for people and life. His lack of preparation is explained his lack of preparation can be explained or can be seen by the stammering that he does throughout his speech and the unorganized format. In 1942, Hollywood created a tribute called The Pride of the Yankees, and they revised the speech to give it a format that seemed more cinematic. On July 3rd of 2014, on ESPN.com, writer Steve Wolf acknowledged the bold decision they made to sacrifice the speech's authenticity, leaving us without what made the speech great, without where it came from, the heart of a man who loved life and who loved people. He demonstrates this time and time again, from only seeing good in the fans to being thankful for the groundskeeper. Lou makes sure to compliment everyone he addresses throughout the entire speech. He keeps negative comments and topics to a minimum, referring to his disease as a bad break a couple of times and never mentioning retirement. He focuses on what he has that is good, repeating how lucky he is just to show that he doesn't need any sympathy. As an audience member, I felt this speech was very emotional. It was driven mostly by emotion and not prepared, therefore it did not follow any traditional strategies. It used ethos to appeal to the audience's pathos, as well as include many characteristics from the study guide section on inspirational speaking. As a new speaker, I can learn from this speech that the use of appeals is very important, and it is a big aspect of public speaking. This speech was very effective in its goal to inspire me as well as millions of others. During my research, I found that multiple credible sources included information that I found unreliable. Therefore, I decided to remove these sources from my presentation for that reason. Garrick's background included. Most of Garrick's background included in my presentation came from the official Lou Gehrig's website, who I found to be the most reliable. So I say thank you to the man who almost said nothing for reminding us that we have an awful lot to live for.
And I thought that was fantastic.